Locked Up Sports.
Hi, everyone. This is ESPN alum Bob Picozzi, and you are locked in to Locked Up Sports.
Can't wait.
When it comes to talking sports, they're the authority. It's Bob Walters and Brett Grasso. It's Locked Up Sports, and it starts now.
Bring them out, bring them out, hey. Bring them out, bring them out, yeah. Bring them out, bring them out, hey. Bring them out.
Here we go. Bob Walters, Brett Grasso, from the Brian Gunzel Studios. This is Locked Up Sports. We got a big one today. Mets stumble in Chicago after a big homestand. The Yankees drop 2 of 3 to Baltimore. Are the Heat in trouble after getting blown out in Boston in Game 5? Aaron Rodgers injured. And we speak to NBC News correspondent Kevin Tibbles in a little while about the Maple Leafs, and he covered 5 Olympics. Brett, happy Memorial Day weekend. The summer is here.
Oh, about time.
It's about
time.
No,
yep.
Not about time. We had no winter. It skipped winter.
We did not skip winter.
No, we skipped winter. It was
You're
great.
right. We skipped the snow. I'll give you that. But it's always, just a miserable New York winter.
I hate the winter. I love the summer.
Yeah.
Because I love the spring because you're heading uphill. Everyone's like, oh, the fall.
No.
Because the fall you're heading downhill into winter.
We don't get the same springs. We go from it just really started getting nice out, but it's going to go right into 100 degrees in the next few weeks. Which, listen, I'm all for it. I love the summer. Baseball, it's baseball weather, or it's the teams start heating up. I think the Mets and Yankees will start heating up as the weather heats up. And I think it's going to be we all thought it was going to be these teams were going to coast to some, playoff runs and have a nice, easy run. It's going to be a fight for both of these teams this summer.
Yeah, I think everyone overestimated the NL East with the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies. The 3-team race. It's going to be a big race. You know what it looks like? It's the Braves. It's the Braves division to lose. The Mets are struggling. Mets are kind of spinning their wheels, and the Phillies are struggling, pretty big time down in fourth place. And the Mets, listen, after last week, they had such a good 5-game win streak, late inning home runs. I said it wasn't sustainable the way they were winning because the bullpen stinks.
No, because if you look at those games, they were losing or behind in those games. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like they went out and won a whole bunch of games where they just blew other teams out.
No, the Mets had no business winning 3 out of the 5 games, basically, is how it went. And Ottavino stinks. The bullpen stinks. Robertson is good. We thought the problem was going to be the closer position because Diaz went down. It hasn't been the problem. Robertson stinks. It's getting to the closer position. Yeah. I'm sorry. Not Robertson. Ottavino stinks. Yeah, Raleigh.
Watching Ottavino to Sanchez must have given Yankees fans nightmares.
And then the Mets go to Chicago, who's not a really good team. They're 6 games under 500, and they lose 2 out of 3. Now, the Yankees lost 2 out of 3 to Baltimore. We'll get to that in a minute. But the Mets lose 2 out of 3. Game 1, right after a 5-game win streak on the road, Buck puts out a punt lineup.
I hate that.
Let's punt game 1.
Their kids play. Listen, I really hate it. I hate it. We talked about this last week. You can't play it like you're up, like you did last year when you were up by this many games. And we even showed what happened to them. We even showed, but even then, I can kind of understand the philosophy. But we're in a fight to go try and make these playoffs this year. There's not a point where we're going to go and be okay, we're going to be in there. I have no idea what he's thinking not playing these guys.
No, and I'm starting to think that maybe they're this team and not the team that won the 5 games. I mean, they went on a home run barrage, late inning, dramatic home runs for a week. But right before that, they were a 6-16 stretch. Now they go and they lose 2 out of 3 out in Wrigley. They got a couple big series coming up. You can't keep spinning your wheels at 500. Are they just a 500 team?
I honestly,
they have all the trademarks of it.
But the other end, as you said, the Braves are running away with it. They're just not.
They did
early, and they haven't. No, the Braves have come back down to earth. Now, you look at it, the Braves and Mets have been 500 ball clubs the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, but the Braves are decisively the best team in the division.
That's
right?
fine.
You can see it.
But if you look at what's going on, I mean, the Braves have pretty much played. Mets and Braves have been 6-4-ish over the last 10, and probably the same concept over the last. I'm looking at nothing.
I was looking at it right.
I actually wasn't.
Exactly. Okay, so the Mets and Braves are 6-4 in their last 10. You're right.
But I'm saying even beyond that, the Braves went so hot so early and were playing such good ball that they're honestly more of a 500 ball club the last 3 weeks, and you are who you are recently. You're not who you are like the Yankees proved last year. It's not who you are in the first half. It's how you get to that result can be in different ways. We have, a little over 100 ball games left?
Yeah. And listen, and they're 5.5 out. But 3 weeks ago, they were 9.5 out. And they're not going to try to keep type of teams.
See, you're thinking of how it's been this whole year, but right now, don't forget the last 2 weeks, you know what happens the next 2 days, right? You get Scherzer, you get Verlander, and then you can even go with McGill. I'll give you even having McGill in there is, 2 out of 3.
Okay,
2 out of 3 in terms of he had 2 out of 3 good starts.
McGill with Scherzer and Verlander.
No, 2 out of 3 good starts out of McGill, and same thing with Senga. What's going on with him? You get 12 strikeouts one game where the guy's pitching 8 innings. And then you're getting him lit up and not being able to keep the ball in the zone.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Derek. That's what a 500 team does, right?
A bad bullpen, scary, but that's why you're right.
Streaky hitters and so inconsistent starting pitching, and that's what they've gotten.
Well, when you let guys who don't even swing the bat or attempt to swing the bat like Vogelbach in, or bring in guys like Sanchez to eat up at bats just so we don't lose him, just to drop him back down to the minors, when you have guys like Alvarez who are hitting a home run out of every 15 at bats.
Listen, I've been telling you, Vogelbach is no good for now, almost a year, and he's okay. I can live with Vogelbach on the bench, but you can't start him in any of these games. Have him pinch hit, and then you take him out for a pinch runner if he gets on.
You have to pick your guy. You can't be Vogelbach, Pham, Canna, and sitting there and just being like,
Pham is out. Pham has got to go. Listen, Pham is a little speed.
But you can't keep them all. And I understand you even, listen, right now it's actually about, and they're kind of setting it up where they're trying to make room for Ronnie Mauricio. He will be up this year.
And what sucked even worse about the Cubs series is they go in there, they lose the first game, then the second game you got Stroman pitching.
That was so painful.
And
and they got to him. They were on the edge. They had him, and they ground into double plays. They had him.
Well, that's what he did. Listen, he had all the balls on the ground. He gave up one run right through 8 innings, and then when he came off the field, he did his whole dog and pony act, showing up the whole team after the 8th inning. And then the Mets had somebody say something, but they didn't put their name to it.
Nope.
So I mean, come on. What do we do? Stroman, first of all, I'm sick of Stroman's
you know what?
act.
No. I'm sick of the Mets not getting hits versus a guy like Stroman. He can go and say whatever he wants, and I'm not happy about it. Nobody likes it, but you know what? Hit the guy.
Yeah, but him dancing off the field and everything.
All the guys left in scoring position, dancing off the field. Get one hit and he cries off that field.
Yeah, you
got to make him cry off that field. You want to ruin a guy's season and jump up your ball club? Go hit up the guy who everybody else hit when he was on. Listen, he played pretty good for us when he was there, but it's all that extra stuff. It's all the extra. No, he's always
causing trouble.
He's more talk than he is good. Put it that way. He elevates himself by talking, not by pitching.
He's a lightning rod he's always on social media causing trouble. And this guy's a racist. This is racist.
I hated it. I hated watching the Mets lose to him more than I've hated any loss this year. Let me tell you, it was the most painful one when I saw that ground ball where all they needed was a base hit to ruin his outing. I don't even care if the Mets end up losing that game. If the Mets just get that hit, tie the ball game, come on back. Guess what? I just needed Stroman to walk off upset, and he walks off the way he did.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
You can't lose 2 out of 3 in Chicago. I mean, Chicago's not a great team, and thank God they got last night. Last night they blew it up. They had with what's his face pitching with Carrasco pitching. You never know what you're going to get. Somehow he came out and pitched a good game. It's inconsistency with the Mets.
Well, he's got to he's just still coming off of his injury, so we don't know who Carrasco is going to be for a couple more weeks. But I will take that. I didn't think we were getting any positive starts out of him.
Well, let's see what we get now.
Did you think you were going to start getting positive starts out of Carlos Carrasco and him going 6 in the third, giving up 1 run?
See what I put on Facebook with my daughter putting her hand over his face. So, I mean, I expected that to be a sweep.
No, so we'll take this. This is what you need out of your 4th and 5th starters is a Carlos Carrasco acting like the old Carlos Carrasco. He's not there yet.
But even more importantly, let's see what happens now with the second. Let's see if Scherzer and Verlander can follow up their good performances.
They need to come through every single time.
Scherzer got robbed the other win.
I mean, the Mets, these next 2 games have to be the other team scores less than 3. Leather's team scores less than 4. I don't know what the Mets are going to do because their offense is terrible right now.
Yeah,
and I'll give you that.
Is always terrible. Last night
that's not even entirely true. You look at Pete Alonso, his 19th home run last night. You even look at Francisco Alvarez with his
Lindor's coming around.
15 at bats, and he crushes one into the wind at Wrigley. It is very hard to hit those balls out of Wrigley this time of year. In 2 months, that's the easiest home run in town. But right now, it's actually a hard home run.
Well, I mean, you got Alvarez, listen, and there's actually talk about them sending Alvarez down.
No,
which if they send him
they
down,
solidified it with the Sanchez being thrown down.
No, because now Nito's going to come back. And then you're still not carrying 3 catches.
No, they're not carrying.
Alvarez, 261, 6 home runs, 13 RBIs.
They will.
In 2 weeks.
They are setting it up to keep him up here. I'm telling you, someone else will go down, and they withheld 3 catchers, and it's going to be if Nito doesn't catch on in the few weeks, he will go.
So now the Yankees, they were also kind of sneaking up on the Rays. The Mets gave them some help last weekend with the beating up on the Rays. Yankees really couldn't take advantage of it. They went in, they had Baltimore come into town. The Yankees always kill Baltimore, right? They just always, you just expect that. Baltimore is a couple games ahead of the Yankees. They leave 4 games up on the Yankees now. They leave New York 4 games up. The Yankees, Cortez was involved in a controversial. They pitched him into the 7th. A lot of people thought they should have took him out. The Yankees end up giving up 8 runs in that 7th inning. They lose game 1. Then they lose. Then 2 nights ago, they needed a huge comeback just to take the middle game of the series. Then last night they lose again 3-1. And the Yankees are they're playing better than the Mets, but they're floundering a bit too. 7
out of their last 10. Judge is, right back into Judge. I wasn't sure after the injuries and how he would come back, and it looks like, if he can go on a tear, he'll carry this team anywhere they need to go. And the fact that as good as the Rays have been, and honestly as bad as the Yankees have been, just like the Mets, for them to hang on and be in the position they're in right now and starting to get hot where there's still enough games left, Yankees are going to be just fine.
Yeah, but the 7 back, it's amazing that they're only 7 back in the race. It's amazing to me that I was surprised when I looked at the Orioles were only 3 back.
If it was a race to who wins the division, is the only team making the playoffs, I would be like, oh my God, the Yankees are in trouble. When you look at Cortez floundering, I'd be like, it's a little difficult because it's not that same team from last year. But knowing what I know now with that, one, they're going to go win some more ball games. They're not just competing for the division title. I do think the Rays are going to cool off. I think midsummer this team is not
going to... They've cooled off a little bit.
I know, but that's just, of course, anybody cools off a little bit when you're perfect.
But what about the Orioles? The Orioles 3 games back. They came in. They played well this weekend.
But that's the thing. You're going to play. The thing is, you're going to play a lot of tough games. But so are the Orioles, and so are the Rays. So I really think it's going to be a much tighter race. And a team like the Yankees with the veteran experience, and someone like Judge, and you look at someone like Cole, who's just having a great season. I truly believe. If they can, if Aaron Boone can stay on the field and not get thrown out every game.
He gets thrown out. He's gotten thrown out now more than the last 5 years. He's been thrown out 30 times, I think, and it's more than any other manager.
What kind of manager do you like, Bob? Do you like an Aaron Boone that's like that, or you like a Buck who gets thrown out once in his entire career? When you've had 100 terrible replay calls.
Somewhere in the middle, maybe. But I like more towards Boone, because you like to see him out there fighting for you. Because you're sitting there and you're pulling your hair out if you think the call is going against your team. You want to see a guy get out there like Bobby Valentine, or even Mets had a couple of Bobby Valentine get out there and he get his face. Boone, they were talking about he had to be restrained, and he's like, nothing was going to happen. They asked him about it. They were like, you had to be restrained. He's like, I wasn't going to fight the guy, but
he got a little out of control.
I'd rather see that.
I didn't see any of the words or what it was even about. I just saw
he was arguing
him with I was at work, and all I could look in the background is just seeing Boone rip into the guy, and I was like, oh, it went on. It kept going. It kept going.
Yeah, I think most fans would rather see that, right? You'd rather see your guy come out there and fight, because that's how you are.
Do you think Buck's just worried about going into AFib or having some heart?
I think
you can't get that wild.
I think he's just he's just it's not his character to come out there and argue. Sometimes you go out there just to get thrown. A lot of times
you get a coach that just does that? Can we get somebody in here that has a little fire in him?
What are you going to send out? You going to send out your bench coach, an argue coach?
No. Send just me out there for one reason, and just be just get right in the guy's face, tossed, and you're out of here.
That's like having
you're out of here, and who are you? They're like you.
That's like having a guy on the hockey team that the only reason he's there
I'm the enforcer.
is to go out there and get a penalty.
That's it. Forget it. I'm getting a Mets jersey that says enforcer. 100%.
Brett, get out there. Go argue that call.
Yeah.
But and it doesn't get any easier for the Yankees. They got 3 games now. San Diego coming in. San Diego, big time. They're a big market team now, right? With their $200 million payroll. They're a good team. The Yankees can find themselves 9-10 games possibly out of first place
as
they hit Memorial Day.
They're coming to New York?
Yeah, Yankee Stadium.
See, well, it's a tough. It's
You got to
tough for
win
them.
2 out of 3, right? You can't drop 2 out of 3.
You want that team flying from the West Coast, coming to hang in New York all night. They're like, we know what restaurants were going on Yelp.
Memorial Day weekend.
It's kind of like that South Beach feeling this time of year. Yeah,
It's nice,
definitely.
yeah.
No, there's
Day
a lot
weekend.
going on. You're not like showing up. You're like, what'd you do in New York this weekend? They're like, nothing.
Well, they got like the Amazon game tonight.
Right.
It probably is,
No,
right?
Yankees need to win these games.
Yeah,
it's
so
going to be big crowds.
Big crowd, yeah, of course.
Nice.
They'll sell
It's gonna
out.
be a
I'm sure they got
beautiful week.
fireworks.
Perfect. Not like it's going to be perfect out. No.
You got 2 day games because you got the Saturday, Sunday day game, and then you got is it a 4-game series? 1, 2, 3, 3-game series, and then the Yankees go out to the West. They go to Seattle.
Okay.
So
All right.
West Coast trip.
You do have to get these games.
Exactly.
Even more so. Yeah.
Last night, when we left, a couple nights ago, the Heat won 3-0. They were up 3-0. Now it's 3-2.
They were
laughing at them.
Eric Spoelstra doesn't laugh. Guy was laughing
Because
on the bench.
game 3, the Celtics quit. They looked like they had no chance. They got blown out. Now the Celtics have come back. They've won games 4. They won game 5 last night. They won by 13, but it wasn't even that close because they were up like 25 at some point.
There was never a game.
Are the Heat in trouble? I think so.
You mean Jimmy Butler?
I think are the Heat in trouble?
That's the Heat.
Kyle Lowry, Kevin Love. They got
Bam Adebayo.
It might did the clock strike 12 after game 3 for the Heat.
It's funny.
Because it might have, and Boston's a better team.
See, the thing with Boston is they needed to get their backs against the walls to all of a sudden to show up and put some effort into the series, which is messed up on its own case. Like, you can't show up right from the beginning. So now all of a sudden that you see them talking, he goes, don't let us get one. Don't let us
what they all say, though.
Nope. But after he goes, don't let us get 2. Oh, and then this one is, don't let us get game 3. Let me tell you, right now, Boston thinks they can actually win it. I think that's the worst thing in the world for them.
Yeah,
they just today, and Jimmy Butler is sitting there going, didn't think he was going to let 2 drop. I can tell you, he didn't.
No,
he's not going to let a third one go.
So you think the Heat? I think the Heat. I would pick the Heat game 6, but this is it. This is game 7 for the Heat.
I think this is like we've talked about with all these NBA games where they've been one team wins by 30, one or the other, and they're not even competitive. I think it's. I hate to say it because I really do think it might be like a Heat by 15.
Okay, well, that's what Eric Spoelstra was saying yesterday after the game. He's saying, these games aren't intertwined. Okay, it's not momentum doesn't carry into the next
shooting.
game.
Who's hitting shots today?
And last night the Celtics came out just knocking everything down. Smart was hitting threes from the court, wide open.
There's usually a lot more factors involved in all these series. Like, oh my God, if this guy gets involved or if they play, nope. This is like whichever team has the highest field goal percentage and is shooting today. Well, they're both shooting teams, and they're streaky, like they're hot and cold. Like, but a guy like typically the Celtics have been better because you can go, here you go, Tatum's going to go off and have a day.
Yeah,
or you can say Marcus Smart's going to play some great defense, or Jaylen Brown's going to go out on the other day and make up for it if Tatum's not. But let me tell you, they're going to run as Jimmy Butler runs.
Tatum's the best player, right, in the series
when he wants to be, or he doesn't touch the ball.
Or he's very hot.
He didn't have a game last night. He had 21
points.
20 points. Like, that's not a 10 rebounds, and that's where he's decided that he's not shooting. But he's not being the offensive producer. If you've seen Tatum's went into the rebounds and into other stuff where I don't know what it is. He shied away.
I mean, it's fascinating.
A superstar who's saying, I'm the man. Did you see him after talking about how he's the greatest? I'm one of the greatest players in the world. He shied away this entire series from touching the ball.
You're talking about Tatum.
Except,
last night he played all right. He was facilitating last night. But
facilitate. Did you hear what you just said about the? Did you hear what you can't facilitate? That's not. There's never a game where Jordan was like, I'm just going to facilitate tonight. What are you doing?
No, Jordan made the guys around him better, right? That's part of the thing with Jordan.
But he took control of it. He is not facilitating. Tatum is in the corner standing, going, oh, I'm not involved in this possession. This isn't my play.
Now, the Denver is sitting in the NBA Finals waiting for the winner of this series.
They just want to know who they're going to beat.
First of all,
who are they going to beat?
The Heat better treat this next game like Game 7, because this is their Game 7. They have to win it here. They're not going to Boston and winning Game 7, right?
No, I think they can win 6 or 7, to be honest with you. I think, I really believe that, listen, I said that the Heat are going to win by 15. This series, nobody has any clue who's going to win this game tonight. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think...
You mean tomorrow night, right?
Tomorrow night, yeah. But nobody has any who's going to go and win this Game 6. But when it comes to a Game 7, I think all bets are off. I don't think that's right. I think you think Boston's going to show up. Boston will be favored like they have been in every single game this series. They've been favored in every game this series. They were favored to win the series when they were down 0-2.
After losing the first 2 at home.
They were favored to win the series. Down 0-3, I looked and go, you know what? I'm going to put a little money on the Boston. Not worth it. Don't even remember what the odds were. It wasn't even worth your time of day.
Now,
And they were down by 3 games, and it's never happened before.
I listen. I don't know.
Come on, is this going to be the 1 out of 150 time?
I'm rooting for Miami because now
I was rooting for Miami. Now I'm rooting for him to lose. I want to see the collapse. No, I'm serious. I wanted to see a sweep.
It's
I was
never
like double
happened in the
sweep.
NBA.
No, now because of like this back and forth, I want to see a total collapse.
It's never happened.
Or at least
in
come
the
down
NBA.
to the last shot in Game 7 of, oh my God, it almost happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you really don't care.
No, I just want to see competitive.
You really don't care.
It hasn't been fun to watch. It went down 0-3. Nobody even cares about Game 4. Game 4, whatever, it goes back and it's lopsided. Game 5, lopsided. It's not fun to watch right now.
Like for a while,
this will be known as one of the best series ever. Based on a 5 minutes at the end of Game 7.
It looked like for a while all 4
good Game 6.
conference finals, NHL, NBA, all 4 conference finals were going to be sweeps. Now you got the one Dallas survived last night in overtime getting a goal, so they're now 3-1 to the Knights.
That's
I still think that's still not yet.
That's just delaying the
inevitable. I agree, but that's what we were saying.
Hockey's a little tougher.
The problem here is
the Celtics are a better team.
Good. Yeah,
the Celtics are a better team. I sat. My supervisor's a huge Celtics fan. They're down 0-3. And I look and I go, I would never say this about anybody else, but they're a better team. They're the only one of the few times in history a team has ever been down 0-3 and been that much, not better than the other team, but been that good all season.
Oh, they're better. They are better than the other team.
But they aren't, right now, today, they are not like heads and shoulders above the Heat. I
think the Heat might be coming back down to earth.
On paper, they are. They should be. But right now, you're right. The Heat were so streaky, and all year
coming back down to
they
earth,
are
right?
who they have been all year.
They've
been streaky, and right now I think they are on the down. They may be able to scrap out one more game to get into the finals.
And then what? They get swept or losing 5 to Denver. Probably, right?
But if Jimmy Butler scores 45 tonight, that's that.
Because up until last night, I think the toughest challenge the Heat faced for the Knicks.
But you're right. But you look at the other end. And I want to say maybe he will be held back, but is Tatum going to not have another game? You tell me there's not going to be a game in this series where Tatum just goes off?
It better be the next one.
Because every other time he says, I step up when it matters, right? Talk about it mattering.
Well, yeah, I mean, the 21 points. But
it can be in the last 5 minutes. He showed that where you can have a crap first half, put up 24 points in the last, quarter and have one of the best games you've ever had.
Now, does the sweep of the Lakers, does that make you view LeBron? Now, LeBron played great.
No,
it doesn't affect anything, right?
No.
I don't
want
to argue with you about that.
And I'll never say you don't really hear me hype up LeBron. He was elevated to me by where they were this season, not even supposed to go into the playoffs.
Because the whole Jordan crowd will say, he got swept.
They played into this tournament. They ended up making a run on the table. Down to
they weren't supposed to do anything this year.
They ran up, and then they run up against a team that nobody is even rating as what might be one of the better players that we'll ever see play a season, and especially a postseason. Now, a 30-point triple-double guy, like you're out of your mind.
Yeah, so okay.
LeBron then crybaby.
But he's a crybaby. He flops. He does.
No, forget about the flop. I'm not worried about the flop. I'm not worried about the flop.
The flop was pretty bad. Did you see the flop?
The flop was awful. It was the post-game press conference. I'm gonna start talking about retirement now. This is day one of I'm going to spend the rest of my career talking about retirement.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I don't know if I'm going to play another basketball game again. I got to think about it.
But I'm playing with my son. I'm definitely playing until my son comes.
But nobody took it seriously, right? Nobody. Did you see anybody that took him saying that seriously, like he might retire?
Oh, the retirement. No, he just did it to take all of it off of the Nuggets. He wanted them to have nothing.
It's their first trip to the finals.
Nobody talked about the Nuggets. They were like, all right, the Nuggets are moving on. That's nice. But LeBron, he said he might retire, and everybody's like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Now,
$100 million on the table. Yeah, he's going to give it away.
All right,
I'm not taking the $100 million.
Now, my favorite thing before we get to our guest coming up in just a minute, because we'll do that in a second. My favorite thing in sports right now is the Florida Panthers. Now, just if you don't know the whole story, 72 hours before the season ended, they were basically, we're still alive, but we need to win our last 2 games, and we need massive help. They needed a collapse from the Penguins. They needed the Islanders to give them a little bit of help. They got it. They squeaked in. Then they're down 3-1 to Boston, the greatest regular season NHL team that we've ever seen, scored the most points. They were 43 points. They're down 3-1. They come back, force a Game 7, win it in overtime. Then they run through the Leafs, which we're going to talk about with our guests in a minute. Then they have a 4-game sweep in the conference finals of Carolina, and this is how that series went. 4 overtimes, Game 1, they win. Game 2, they win in overtime, 2-1. Game 3, they win 1-0. Game 4, they score a goal with 4 seconds left in the third period. A power play goal, 4 seconds left in the third period to go ahead and win Game 4 and complete the sweep. Now they're in the finals. It's got to be the most unlikely thing, except the only thing I can compare it to is one of those, St. Mary's.
No, the only more unlikely run is you getting all those stats right in a row without looking at yourself.
Right.
That was unbelievable.
I told you, it's my favorite thing right now. I was
just saying, if you watch the video, it would just be like this. I was like, there's no way. I'm looking, I was like, there's no way.
I'm all in on the Panthers.
Oh my God, there's no way.
I'm watching it.
That was like research, Bob.
It wasn't even research.
Listen.
Because research I would have forgot.
You've never impressed me once.
You've
never impressed me once on this show. You impressed me today.
Right there. I'm like, totally. I can't believe I did get it right. I did get it right. And
I don't know if any of it's true.
Because I'm sorry.
No
it's
clue.
All true.
It sounded totally legit.
I
saw the goal. The only thing I saw was the goal with like 4 seconds left, and they squeezed it in to win it. I don't know about anything that happened before.
They play Blink 182 songs, and the whole crowd, when it goes off, through the whole next play, sings the whole song.
Bob made it sound amazing.
I'm into
whatever
it.
Happens, whatever really happened is, I don't even care.
That's how it happened.
It was good.
I am into the Florida Panthers because to me it's just a great story, and I love the NHL anyway. So now it's time. Let's get to our guest. His name is Kevin Tibbles. You know him from NBC News. I know. Listen, a lot of people don't know. I'm also a news junkie, politics junkie. Does everybody know that? I think so.
Yeah,
right?
The people who don't like you specifically know that.
He's also a sports commentator. So he did the 5 Olympics. Let's get to that interview right now. I'm excited to have this guest, Brett, because I'm big into news, politics, everything like that. He was an NBC News correspondent for 25 years. You know him from the Today Show, from Nightly News with Lester Holt. He is covered everything from Princess Diana to Obama's inauguration, 5 Olympics. Kevin Tibbles is his name. Kevin, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for coming on, Kevin.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. And, within all those years that you just discussed, 42 years in television, I still am waiting to see the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, listen, you'll see it. You will have faith.
I don't know.
I, as a Ranger fan, I didn't think I'd ever see it. 94, I still hold 94. I was 13 years old, near and dear to my heart. It's my favorite team, the 94 Rangers. And you know what kind of stinks though? Now that you get older, when you get older, it's not the same. It's not the same. I had it in the prime, age 13, prime sports fandom. It's a little different when you get older, right? Because we're waiting for a Mets one.
But you also expect it to happen again too. At that point, you don't know how hard it is.
It was 29 years ago this week that it happened in New York, and I can tell you, I was standing outside Madison Square Garden, working for the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting at that time, because the Vancouver Canucks were in the final. But I understand some guy who made his name in Edmonton said we're going to win tonight or something like that.
Yeah.
I saw Gretzky and Messier win a cup in Edmonton. I was based out there for a while. But yeah, that was a big night. I actually ran into David Foster, the big composer guy, big composer. And he was about the most dejected guy coming out of that arena because he obviously is from Vancouver and a big fan. But big night for New York that night. I was 10 years old the last time the Leafs won the cup. I think maybe I had to go to bed at the end of the second period. I can't remember. But because you invited me on.
There it is. Look at that.
There it is. I'm holding up the Export A, banned now, cigarette advertising. Export A, Maple Leaf Gardens calendar from 1967. I can name all those players. I even got a few of them to autograph it for me.
Now
I'll hold back the rest of my day.
So you just missed the dynasty where they won the 3 in a row. In what was it, 62 to 65?
Well, believe me, then I probably had to go to bed at the end of the first period back then.
Yeah, I believe it. Now, you've covered a bunch of Olympics. Now, you were at you covered the Vancouver Olympics. Home soil, Crosby gets the game winner. How big was that up in Canada? And explain were you at the game?
I was. This is a great story, and so thank you for asking me to reflect on it. Of course, it was a big game. in Canada, everything. When it comes right down to it, listen, hockey is an international game now. But when it comes right down to it, what else can Canadians boast about except, maybe inventing the paint roller or something? And that's not a knock, but I wanted to go to the game. I was assigned. I had to go to a ginormous beer tent to watch the game with thousands of fans. And I was hearing stories. This is a true story. I heard that people in the Vancouver airport were refusing to get on flights, and they were all in the bars in the airport, and they were going around saying, Mr. Jones, you're going to miss your flight if you don't get on the plane, and people were just saying, forget it, man, we're not getting on, and everything. Anyway, I was at this beer tent, and we had a big satellite truck there. I was doing live hits into like MSNBC and stuff. But I was there because when you have an Olympics, a lot of police officers come from all over the country to do security. And in Vancouver's case, they had them all staying in like a cruise ship out in the harbor. And two of the cops that were assigned to protect our satellite truck, they were from St. John's, Newfoundland. So they were members of the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, and they couldn't see the game. And everyone was like, well, come inside the satellite truck. And they're like, well, we're supposed to be guarding the satellite truck. And,
what are those vacation days?
Yeah. And when it OT, as you know. So I said, listen, just come and stand in the doorway. And sure enough, the famous cry of Iggy goes out. Jerome passes Sid, the puck, it goes in. Who did he score on, Miller?
Yeah, I believe it was Miller. They left him open in front. It was kind of like a spinning, like Crosby kind of spun and swept it right under him.
And anyway, that was the first day I actually kissed those cops on the lips.
I'm sure they're still telling the story.
That must have been an amazing moment as a Canadian.
They're on a podcast somewhere telling the story about when Kevin Tibbles kissed him on the lips.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, the big thing, if you ever go to Newfoundland as a tourist, you're supposed to kiss a codfish and drink a shot of Newfie Screech, the rum, or they call it rum. It's more like pure alcohol. But, I covered that, all of the, USA hockey, women's soccer, for example, in London. Those sorts of things, Bodie Miller. It was a real, at the end of the day, it was just a real privilege to be there and feel the excitement for all those things.
Do you get to actually see the events, or are you mostly like, are you working? Are you like, working, preparing for stories and preparing for live hits and stuff, or you actually get to sit and watch a couple events?
Oh, I would always find my way in to see a number of the events. I mean, the big ones, if you're asked to cover it, you're covering it. But then, in the zone, they call it, after, Ryan Lochte, the big swimmer, for example, or Michael Phelps, after they win the event, they kind of do like a conga line all the way down this line of journalists from all over the world. So you get to spend a couple of seconds with them, pumping them with questions. Phelps obviously was a very big deal to interview. Lochte was like a matinee idol looking kid. Yeah. I did a feature on him prior to the Olympics where he would pick up empty kegs of beer.
Yeah, that sounds like Ryan Lochte.
Yeah, you never know what you're getting out of that guy.
Yeah, he threw it back over his head. That was kind of to simulate taking off from the, from the starters thing. So, yeah, a tremendous privilege, and a lot of them are really nice people. And of course, as you know, I'm a big hockey guy. I think hockey players are the most genuine guys you can meet, especially when they get 75 stitches in the head and come back the next period.
Yeah,
I love I was just ringing off before we were doing we were recording something. I was ringing off I'm into this Florida Panthers story. Okay, I am fascinated. They were with 72 hours left in the regular season. They were basically out of it. I saw them play the Rangers in a shootout they had to win. Then they needed a Pittsburgh collapse and Islanders to help them to get in. And then they're down 3-1 to Boston, 43 points. They finished behind them. and just the way they've done it, I'm into it.
Yeah, I love
know
a good
they beat you
underdog
guys,
story.
but in 5 games. But what do you think about the Panthers story?
As much as I dislike Mr. Kachuk, I certainly wish he was on my team, and I think a lot of guys. And then Bobrovsky. I mean, come on, what is going on there? He didn't have a very good season. Well, the whole team didn't have a good season. I never expected them. I never expected anybody to beat the Bruins, and nobody else expected anybody to beat the Bruins. But I will say this. I think Paul Maurice is a real stand-up guy as a coach, and I'm kind of pulling for him right now. I mean, you can go around. There's still 3 teams left now, but even I like Stone on Vegas. There are a lot of guys out there. Like, I have a really kind of strange sort of grading system when it comes to hockey. Yeah, I love my team. Yes, they didn't go all the way. Yes, everybody makes fun of them, and I think that's part of the excitement. The jokes and the whole bit about losing to a Zamboni driver and all these kind of things.
Yeah, that's right.
It's part of the team, but as it comes down, and it was 93 since the Canadian team won. Patrick won, net for the Habs. And then there's some teams that have never won, like Vancouver, even Buffalo, for example, Winnipeg. So I kind of go down the list, and then at the end, when everybody's been defeated, then I start looking around for like guys that I think are class guys. I think Mark Stone's a class guy. I think it was a mistake for Ottawa to get rid of him, but what can I say? I think Paul Maurice has been around so long that he deserves to win. So I'll be watching. In the beginning, I said, this is bullshit. I'm not going to be watching this.
Because
Tough pill to swallow. Yeah,
it's great drama. The NHL playoffs never disappoint. They never disappoint.
Damn good hockey, man.
It is. It's great. And even the sweep. I was just saying before I go. The sweep was they won a four overtime game 1. They won 2-1 in overtime in game 2. Then in game 3, they win a 1-0 game, and then they score with 4 seconds at 19:56 of the third period. Every game is as close as you could get, even in a sweep.
No, it reminds me in a lot of ways of when Chicago won their first cup. It was like, the one thing that now that I live in Chicago, I've been blessed with 3 Stanley Cups here since I got transferred here from London back in 2000. But again, did you think Florida was going to beat Carolina? No way.
No. Anybody that told you Florida was going to be in the Stanley Cup final, you would have looked at them and said, you don't know what you're talking about. They probably don't. But that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. Now, 8 years now, a big moment, Olympic moment in this country, of course, is the 1980 Olympics. The Miracle on Ice. It's unbelievable.
Do you believe it?
Yeah, do you believe it?
Yeah.
Your miracles. Yeah, Al Michaels, who don't get me started on Al Michaels. He's basically mailed it in the last couple of years. But in 1972, 8 years before we played that in that Olympics, you guys in Canada had a Summit Series, correct? I don't think a lot of people know about that. It's a big deal in Canada. Explain to people about that.
Okay, that's easy. Well, in 1972, there was obviously still the height of the Cold War. And, of course, the Canadians, I think, braggadocio or whatever, still thought that they were the king of the hill when it came to hockey. And there is always a world championship like the one that's going on right now that the USA is actually dominating. And we would always lose to the USSR because, they had all these guys on there. And all those guys did was, play hockey 24/7, and they were Army guys. It was like the Red Army team. But we could never send pros over to play them, so they always won. So anyway, Alan Eagleson, who, has since kind of left the sport under dark cloud, set up this tournament in 72, picked all the best NHL stars. Harry Sinden was the coach. 72. I would have been like 14, I guess, 15. I was in grade 9. We watched all these games. The first game was in Montreal. Pierre Trudeau, the prime minister, came out to drop the puck. Canada came out, got 2 goals like that. Bing, bang, bong. It's over. These Russians don't even have good skates. They got lousy sticks. Or Trechak. Nobody's ever heard of this weak guy in net. And then they came back and smoked us in the second, third. We lost. Not to make the story too long, Canada won game 2. It was a tie in Winnipeg. And Canada got smoked in Vancouver, and that's the night that the fans booed the team. And that was before they went over to Russia to play, or USSR.
And they played 3 games, right?
The famous night in Vancouver was when Phil Esposito was being interviewed, and he said, we're trying our best, and the fans are booing us. He kind of swore on TV and had to apologize to the whole country for saying "geez" on TV, which was a big deal back then. Yeah. And then they went to Moscow, played at Luzhniki Ice Arena, a place I've actually played, and they beat them in 3 games and ended up winning the thing. And there was a big hassle with the secret police over there, and J.P. Parise swung his stick at the ref because he thought the ref was. Anyway, Paul Henderson, number 19, scored the winning goal, and that was. I was in grade 9 then. All the schools shut down to watch the game. Remember those AV cards they used to roll in your class?
We're old enough to remember those. We had those.
Yeah. So they rolled it in, and I was in geography class, and we all watched it. And it was all grainy, and the voice of Foster Hewitt, who was, the inventor of hockey broadcasting, kind of like Doc.
Hey, listen, Doc. I miss Doc. I miss Doc crazy watching these games. Nobody's better at their job in the world. I challenge somebody to name somebody who's better at their job than Doc Emmerich was at his job. I mean, you really can't do it.
Yeah, well, he's been around. I think he started broadcasting hockey when he was like 10 years old or something.
Broadcasting hockey since I was 10 years old, and I wouldn't be Doc Emmerich,
Yeah, that's true. When you were on assignment, were you able to pick assignments focused towards? Listen, I really want to see this sporting event, or I really want to cover this story. Were you able to make those picks or have choices in those assignments?
I'm Kevin Tibbles. I'm going here.
Yeah.
Realistically, probably not, except that it was kind of a running joke, that I was the Canadian guy. So they would, when it came to hockey and Olympic hockey, USA, I got to, so I can remember one feature I did up in War Road, Minnesota, which is TJ Oshie's hometown. He's got a lot of. Well, maybe he'll send me a free T-shirt if I say this, but he's got a line of clothing out now called War Road. That's kind of hockey oriented clothing. But he's related to. Oh my God! Now I'm talking to you guys. He's going to hate me for. His uncle played in the NHL, so we went up there to do a feature story on War Road, which is like the birth of hockey in the United States. The Patrick brothers came from there. Christian brothers, the Christian hockey sticks. It's all from up in that northern part of Minnesota. And I think when we were up there, it was like minus 27 below zero or something like that. Everybody has an outdoor hockey rink. Great hockey up there. They play their games. On Friday nights, nobody locks their doors. You could go in and get like 75 VCRs on one big scoop on a Friday night. You could break in everybody's house. Buffalo, Big Buff comes from up in that area too. So it's real hockey, and it was a real pleasure to be up there and do that.
Yeah, I went to college in Plattsburgh, which is basically last stop before Montreal. And it is. Yeah, we used to go up to Montreal. Well, I mean, one, because the drinking age was 18, but also I would go up there every once in a while to catch Hockey Night in America or in America. Listen to me, Hockey Night in Canada, or when the Rangers would go up. And I never went to the old Montreal Forum, but I did go to the Bell Center, and it's great up there. I loved watching the games up there, the Bell Center.
Well, Montreal in particular loves their hockey. I mean, I think they had the highest attendance in the NHL this year, despite
they were terrible.
Despite the fact their team isn't very good. I wish them well, because without hockey, if Mr. Bettman is listening, I know that you're going to send a team to Houston or somewhere, but the famous if you build it, they will come phrase. Quebec City built a whole new arena to get the Nordiques back, and it's sitting there empty. So.
Well, they're talking expansion again, but I don't think they need to expand. Like these they will always want to expand. All the leagues want to expand. I mean, that's what they want to do. They want more money, more money in the pot for them. But the NHL doesn't need to expand. I'm
talking if Phoenix goes under.
Yeah, but are they going to go? I think they might go. You know what? They might go under. Now, as far as you now, besides the hockey and the sports, you've also covered some fascinating stuff. We were watching the Lester Holt, the video when you retired. And I was like, this guy's got the greatest job ever. He's playing golf in Alaska. He's drinking beers in London. I was like, what is this? This is great. Now, what out of now that stuff had to be fun, but you also covered some serious stuff. The Obama inauguration, the Princess Diana. Walk us through what it's like to cover like a big world event like that, like an earth-changing event.
New Orleans following Katrina. That's some very heavy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think I should say that it was my life's goal to do what I was so fortunate to do. And I always wanted to be a foreign correspondent. That was, all the way back from even before Peter Jennings, and the trench coat and all that kind of jazz. That's what I wanted to do, and I was very fortunate. I got to cover. I wasn't fortunate to cover both Gulf Wars or go to Afghanistan or Bosnia. I mean, it's not. I was fortunate to go, despite the fact that those were awful situations. But that was kind of my dream, was to be able to do that, because I wanted to see things firsthand, and I developed into, I think, the type of storyteller that I could share those stories in language that I think communicated very well to people who weren't there, what it was like and what ordinary people were going through. And so I took great pride in that. The streets of, you mentioned Princess Diana's tragic passing. I was based in London then, and I had 2 young children going to school. And, the whole emotional thing of, buying a bouquet of flowers and taking them over to Kensington Palace, which was a sea of flowers. I mean, I don't know if you can remember that those days, but I mean, there was a sea of flowers outside Kensington Palace, and the emotional, the Queen dipping her head as Diana's casket passed by. Those are moments that, that I will never forget. I can share another one with you. I worked with some guys over the years. A cameraman by the name of Herbie was a really good one, and he sort of taught me this thing where if you don't get caught, then just do it.
That's what we do at the baseball games.
That's exactly what we do.
I can remember a day we were covering in London. There was a march of veterans from the Second World War, and they were all going to go behind into the back of Buckingham Palace to have tea with the Queen. There are a couple of thousand of these fellows, or veterans anyway, and they were walking. I was doing interviews with them at the time, and as they approached Buckingham Palace, they have that big gate around the front. And then there's the forecourt out front where they do the changing of the guard and all that. Well, I said to my camera, just get in with these guys. And so we did, and we marched right through the gate onto the forecourt of Buckingham Palace. And all these veterans are there, and I'm in there. So what do you think I did? I called my mother on my cell phone and said, Mom, you're not going to believe and just as I did that, this big hand comes over and grabs me by the shoulder, and it's this big guy, and he says, "Excuse me, sir, what do you think you're doing in here?" Like, we were marched out. I'm full of stories like that, and I don't want to overdo my time, but
you broke the rule is to just look like you belong there. You're on the phone with your mother, you don't belong there.
That was it.
You broke the golden rule. But
exactly.
Were you like when you hit correspondent, foreign correspondent? Is that something? Were you like? Did you ever want like aspire to get the chair, the anchor chair, NBC Nightly News, which is one of the most important jobs in all of news? You got Cronkite, you got Brokaw, you got Brian Williams, you got now Lester Holt. Did you ever aspire to that?
No, I didn't. I did try. I did do some anchoring earlier on, but to be honest with you, it was the life on the road that I wanted. I wanted to go to those places. I wanted to see what they ate. I wanted to see. I wanted to learn to speak people's language. I can see. I can say thank you or hello in 25 different languages now. That was my privilege. I never had, Brokaw, I don't have that gravitas. To be honest with you, I don't even want that kind of gravitas. It's a tremendous burden, don't you think? And now Lester.
And what you're saying for some reason, now, and I don't want to get into the whole thing, but you got Fox News lying, you got people like people don't know what news is. They'll think that these commentary shows, which I tell them that's not news. The prime time on CNN and the prime time on Fox News, that's not news. That's opinionated programming. That's like what we do.
It's about the in-depth reporting and the things that's what we grew up with. We didn't have the social media where you see everything where it is today. We got our stuff from watching you. From watching those in-depth stories on sports or on the news, that's where you got your real in-depth stuff. It wasn't just a brushing over of what was going on.
I think you could say, at least now, everything is kind of fuzzy because you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's entertainment, or what's news and what's entertainment, or news attainment, or I'm not making these things up. People have talked about this for a long time, but yeah, that's true. And the other part of it, of course, is what's important. We don't know what's important anymore, because every day we're told something else is going to kill us. The sky's falling. So's my freaking bank account, thanks to the debt ceiling conversation. Is that important? Is the debt ceiling important? I don't know.
They'll figure it out, right? They're going to figure this. They'll figure it out. The Republicans don't want to get it done because it's going to make Biden look bad. It's just a game.
But eventually you're playing games with stuff that's going to mess with the U.S.'s credit rating and things that really do have long-term impacts when it comes to them just trying to fight back and forth over whatever their issues of today are.
That's why I love politics. Right. Politics are kind of like sports. It's kind of like sports now.
Why? Because it's all BS? You mean or what?
Yeah, I was going to be like, why? Because we never win? That sounds about right.
That's it, man.
Right. I walked into that one. Right.
In Chicago, we're all a bunch of mokes,
Now, do you think? I thought. Now, because of all the lying and this and that goes on, I thought Brian Williams kind of caught a raw deal. Him getting booted out of the chair just for a single comment on a late night show about a helicopter. And I watched his 25th hour show all the time when he was on MSNBC when he moved to there. But he took a big hit, and that's a big credibility hit that he took. Do you think that was just? Did he think it was just? Did you speak to him about it? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you're getting into sort of tender territory here, but I would say that they made their decision. I don't know what he was thinking the night that he said that. The reality is he was in a helicopter, and they did go down somewhere. And I was in Iraq at that same time, and we were doing things in Afghanistan as well. So when that came out, I still don't understand why it happened. Primarily because I'll say this will be my answer that's truthful, and it's about as close to an answer as I'm going to give you, and that is, if you are the anchor of NBC Nightly News, I don't know why you would have to do that. I don't know why you would. Do you need more? Is there more? Right. What is it? And And that's always kind of confused me. Brian was very good for my career. And he was very good to me. He liked the way I told stories. I liked the way that he introduced my stories. He's the wittiest guy.
Yeah.
He's full of jokes.
Love watching.
I don't know why. I don't know why that. I don't know why that would happen. And in terms of the punishment, okay, I'll go so far as to say this. In terms of his punishment of being losing the anchor chair, look what's gone on since. So, like, was he the beginning of that? Or is he just a symptom of it? Or is it people getting paid too much money? But look what's gone on. Look what's gone on since with other networks.
I mean, like, you say, like, oh, and I get why they did it. You can't lie. You can't say something that's untrue. Now you lost credibility. Now you can't come and sit in the chair every night and tell us the news because you did say something that was false.
But you better present someone more credible.
Right. The way it's gone downhill since. I mean, news, I would imagine news is nothing like today. Today's news is nothing like it was when you started out and when you started to want to be a news person.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, there's always been a political and financial influence in news. You look at Citizen Kane, which is a fictional, it's a fictional story, but it still sort of portrays what went on. So you can go from Citizen Kane all the way to Succession, which I'm almost finished watching this season.
Love it.
You can see, I keep thinking, well, who are these guys on Succession? Like, who is he trying to be? Is he trying to be, Murdoch or whoever or whatever?
Yeah.
But I think once upon a time there were three sort of legacy networks: NBC, CBS, and ABC. People watched those. I think they had a lot more faith in them. The advent of cable news has brought a whole new dimension, opinion. I mean, they used to have opinion on the local news. Johnny Carson used to make fun of it with Floyd Turbo. And you have, and now tonight's commentary is brought to you from, Bob's Clothing, big and small shop down on, Rainier Street. But now you can't tell the difference if it's opinion or what have you. And you have guys, talking about overthrowing elections and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's the 24-hour news too that kind of it's sensationalism.
Everybody
hasn't come back from a commercial break in 15 years without it being breaking news.
And everybody gets to go and pick what their truth is. They each have their own network, and everybody gets to go pick their own truth, and they can then hedge it, and they can always listen to what they think is what's best for them.
Yeah, and I guess they call that siloing or something. You can all
Exactly.
you can live in your own. You can all go and live in your little commune where everyone agrees with you, and you don't have to think about anyone else's opinions or whatever. But you should ask me now whether I'm a big consumer of news, and the answer is I am. But my goodness, it's so different being on the other side now as a consumer rather than a participant in all of that. The stresses involved of putting on a half-hour newscast or Today Show, which is up to 4 hours now in the morning. Yeah, it's funny. They never. Maybe it was because all I did was drink beer. Maybe that was.
You at the pubs in London. They didn't need Hoda and then them drinking in the studio.
Yeah, they never had me on the set. Well, they did actually. During the London Olympics, we tasted beer with Savannah. I can remember, and Hoda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a Coors Light, that's for sure.
Well, that's good. I mean, I don't drink Coors Light, but I mean, now back to the Leafs real quick before we let you go. Well, what do the Leafs need to do? Like here we got a big. Tavares was big here for the Islanders. I'm a Ranger fan, but Tavares was big for the Islanders. I don't know why they thought he was going to stay. I mean, he grew up a Toronto fan. He's a Canadian boy. He went home, right? Has he been disappointing? Has Matthews been disappointing? What do the Leafs need to do to get you a cup in your lifetime?
Well, I think it's pretty safe to say that the Big Four, or whatever they call them up there, have all been disappointing in the playoffs. Matthews, Nylander, Marner, and Tavares, Captain Canada, or whatever they call him. I was, one of the things I'm wondering what they're thinking about now, because when they lost to Florida, everyone went nuts. And the next thing you know, Dubas, the GM, gets shown the door. So what's Florida then do? Florida goes out and sweeps Carolina. So basically, the Leafs, which have been pilloried since losing to Florida, did better than Carolina did. I don't know if that's going to be seen as a hasty move or not. I think Dubas kind of wavered in the beginning. He said, I'm going to have to talk to my wife to find out if my family can handle being the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs anymore. And I think when Shanahan heard that, it was like, well, come on, this is, that's like somebody saying to me, do you want to work for NBC or do you want to work local news in Peoria? And, you got to. So, no offense to Peoria.
We're big in Peoria.
You better watch out. You just trouble now.
But the Big Four, listen, they're a team that does. There's that thing. You can see that thing in Florida, just as you saw it those years in New Oilers, just as you saw it those years with the Islanders and Clark Gillies and those guys, Nystrom, those guys. There's something in there that they got that drive, right? And unfortunately, the Leafs don't seem to have that drive. I don't know. They got those 4 guys, cost them a ton of money, and I'm sure they're trying their hardest. But there's that one thing that's missing, that Messier thing. That, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't got to. We don't call him the Messiah here for nothing. All right.
Hopefully this year pushes them in the right direction. They got a little more experience in the playoffs.
Yeah. Listen, you preach in a choir.
I know.
He doesn't believe they're ever going to win.
Know.
We could sit here, we could give him 100 reasons.
Listen, we're Mets fans. I'm a New York Jets fan. We don't win championships, so we understand more than you know.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the podcast you have with who is it? Now Goldberg. Believe in People is the name of the podcast. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Believe in People is the name of the podcast that comes on once a week. Now I feel like Don Rickles on the Tonight Show here, and I'm playing the Sands in Las Vegas this weekend. They want to come out, but it kind of comes out of my 40 plus years in broadcast news, in that, and especially in the past, since even before the pandemic, but with the pandemic, people are so cocooned. There's so much negativity out there. People don't seem to be embarrassed to shout, "You lie," in Congress. People are very, I don't know. Well, you guys know what I'm talking about anyway. I don't need to explain it any further. Is that things are just not very civilized. And Amy, who I've also known for about 40 years, comes out of the film industry. And we were talking one day and we said, why don't we try and do something positive where we get, because I did focus a lot in my career on having regular, ordinary people. I'm trying to put them on television to give them a voice, because TV is a mirror. You want to see yourself represented. So we started this thing, Believe in People, where we don't talk to people with big names. We don't talk to very many politicians or whatever, or movie stars, unless, if you're a movie star and you want to come on, call me. I tried to get Ryan Reynolds, but so far, because, he's at sports and whatever. And he's a Canuck. But so that's what we're doing. And we're just trying to instill a little hope back into our daily discourse. And, subscribe. I'll subscribe to you if you subscribe to me.
Give it a listen.
That sounds like a deal to me.
Tell our listeners, give it a listen.
I'll show you my podcast if you show me yours.
We love it. Let's do it.
I love it. All right. His name is Kevin Tibbles. He did 25 years. He brought all types of news into your living rooms over that time. You know what? I'm pulling for the Leafs a little bit the next couple of years.
I'm in.
For you, I'm pulling for him. His name is Kevin Tibbles. Kevin, thanks for giving us a couple minutes.
Appreciate it.
Go Leafs, go.
All right, how about that, Brett? Kevin Tibbles, that was awesome.
It was.
A lot of people ask me, why is the news guy coming on? What are you doing? I said, he's a sports guy. We went sports, we got news, we got everything.
Just a good guy in general. You know what?
Yeah, right? Nicest guy.
It's a shame we can't be on his podcast because he doesn't want famous people, though. Total shame. He
doesn't want movie stars. So
we apologize. Too late.
But anyway, thank you to Kevin Tibbles for coming on. That went just as I thought it would. Nice guy, great information, great stories, and long-suffering Leafs fan, which, I listen, we get it as Mets fans. I get it as a Ranger fan back pre-94. So, is that it? That's it for today, right?
Where do you think we are by next week? Do you think we're watching the Heat or the Celtics playing the Nuggets?
I think we're watching the Celtics. No, I think we're watching the Heat. I'm going down with the ship. I'm going to say we're watching the Heat and get beat by Denver.
Do you know what? Straight flip-flop. Heat by 15 tonight, I said. Celtics win the series. We don't know what we're talking about. Celtics win the series.
Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Summer is here. Listen, Mets and Yankees, let's get it into gear this week, all right?
Be safe out there, though. Enjoy yourselves.
Be safe. Listen, you got to be around Yankees, to watch our next
Summer's just
podcast.
heating up. Baseball is about to get started, so don't be down. I'm telling you, Mets and Yankees are here to come.
So thank you to Kevin Tibbles. I will talk to you Monday with the wrap-up show. Brett, talk to you later. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Talk to you on Monday, everybody. See ya.